One day, on the outskirts of a small town, there was an old and deserted asylum known as the Lunatic Asylum. The townspeople claim that the hospital had been abandoned years ago, but some brave kids still dared to venture there. This chilling tale begins when a group of friends decides to explore this eerie asylum under the cover of night. The friends sneakily opened the doors of the hospital. The corridors were eerily empty, and the unsettling sounds of the wind entering through the windows echoed. As they entered a room, they discovered beds adorned with rusty chains. Faded paintings on the walls seemed to tell mysterious stories of the hospital's past. Suddenly, the group started hearing strange noises, whispers, creaks, and odd footsteps echoed from a distance. As they moved from one room to another, doors mysteriously began to close behind them. The friends felt as if something was following them. Eventually, the group reached the basement. There they found a room filled with old patient records, forgotten belongings, and demonic figures hidden in dark corners. The air became chilling, and a shadow started dancing on the walls. The group stood there, holding their breath, watching the shadow's eerie dance. Suddenly, everything went dark, and the intensity of the strange sounds increased. The group, tightly holding on to each other, began searching for an exit. Just then, a door opened in front of them, leading them towards a dark graveyard. In the graveyard, among old and decayed tombstones, they saw shadowy figures wandering. Under the moonlight, ancient gravestones shone, narrating the stories of forgotten souls. The group got lost in this mystical graveyard and was never found again. Since that day, the townspeople started believing that the lunatic asylum was cursed. The families of the lost friends, unable to find their traces, never left the town again. The lunatic asylum remained in the town's memory as a mysterious place filled with enigmatic sounds and vanished spirits. Once upon a time, on the outskirts of a town, there was a terrifying and dark forest. In the depths of this forest, there stood an old house that nobody dared to enter. Our story begins with a group of brave friends deciding to explore this dark forest. As the friends ventured into the forest, they became lost among the trees, moss-covered rocks, mysterious sounds, and the mist rising from within the forest intensified the atmosphere. The group tried to reach the deepest point of the forest, using an old map. As they moved cautiously, they spotted the silhouette of a house among the dark shadows. This house, constructed with weathered boards, seemed abandoned for years. Intrigued, the friends approached the old house. The door creaked open, and as they stepped inside, a faint noise disrupted the silence. As they explored the house, they noticed mysterious sounds emanating from every room. In one room, they found old photographs and rusty keys. In another room, they stumbled upon an ancient notebook filled with peculiar symbols. The footsteps and faint breaths they heard at every moment made it feel like the depths of the forest were watching them. When the group reached the upper floor of the house, they discovered a room containing an old mirror. Upon looking into the mirror, they noticed shadows from the depths of the forest enveloping them. The mirror seemed to reflect the ghosts of the past. In haste, as they descended, the door suddenly slammed shut, locking behind them. The mysterious sounds from the rooms intensified. In a state of panic, The group tried to exit the house, but the door remained locked. Eventually, they felt as if they were under the influence of the dark forces within the house. A profound silence followed, and the mist surrounding the house dispersed just like the dark night in the forest. The house appeared abandoned again, and the friends, looking at each other for a moment, reflected on the terrifying experience they had just gone through. After that day, the townspeople started believing that the old house in the depths of the forest was cursed. The stories transformed into legends, narrating the mysterious secrets of the dark forest, and the abandoned house became a place even the brave avoided. Once upon a time, in a small town, there was an old school building with colorful architecture. This story unfolds within the corridors of that school. It was a chilly day, and students were getting ready to leave for their homes after their classes. However, strange events started to occur in the school that day. Emma, a first-grade student, noticed a peculiar light in the hallway as she was leaving her class. Following the light, she arrived at the old library. There, she found a photograph of a student who had disappeared years ago. A note on the back of the photo read, "I miss my class. Come back to me." When Emma shared this mysterious incident with her friends, other students revealed that they, too, experienced odd things. On the second floor, a student claimed to hear strange melodic sounds in the old music room. On the third floor, another group of students said they saw the shadow of an unknown figure in an old classroom. That night in the schoolyard, the students found an old book. The book seemed like a mysterious diary, narrating the school's history. As they flipped through the pages, stories emerged about former students searching for their missing friends throughout the school. Throughout the night, Emma and her friends explored the school, tracing the footsteps of the missing student. Each floor, each corridor, was filled with old photographs and notes. Finally, in the basement of the school, they reached the former classroom of the missing student. Upon entering the room, the ghost of the missing student appeared before them. The ghost spoke sorrowfully, revealing that they had accidentally disappeared years ago and had been trapped somewhere within the school. In honor of the ghost's memory, Emma and her friends hung the photograph of the missing student in the classroom. From that day on, the atmosphere of the school changed. Students established a friendly connection with the ghost of the missing student and explored the traces of the past. In every corner of the school, the townspeople began to think that the old school was no longer just an educational institution, but also a place that hosted memories of the past.